Do you feel there are retiring farmers out there who are prepared to hand their farm on to kids that aren't their own? Or is that one of the most offensive things you could tell a farmer or suggest to them is to share ownership? Are they out there? And what I'd love to hear, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm hoping it's true, that in the future this is going to be more normal. Is that where you think things are heading, or what are your thoughts, generally?
I hope it's going to be more normal, and I think it's actually generational. The generation we have the most trouble with, whether it's succession within families or moving on, getting out, is, I don't know what the generation's called, but it's basically the one above the baby boomers. And they're a generation that keeps things to themselves. They're even within families, they don't share. Like I've come across so many families where there's a patriarch or a matriarch in their 80s running the show, and people in their 50s have got no idea and have never made a decision in their life of what's going to happen, what the debt level is, what the profitability is, whether they're going to inherit or not. So that generation, I think, is very difficult to deal with it in that level. I suspect that as the baby boomer generation gets to this phase, you'll find it becomes easier. And we're just starting to get into that phase now. I can only recall one example where that's happened through Serendipity, and it was a young couple who wanted to get started in agriculture. They went out and bought 45 head of cattle and had nowhere to put them. And they decided that they were not going to put them on parents' properties. So they had to find somewhere to put them, and it's getting closer and closer for delivery. Anyway, they found a property that had some grass on it and asked the guy that owned it, could they adjust 45 head of cattle there? And they could. So they put the cattle there. But what happened over the next couple of years was that he got to know them, he got to know their passion for agriculture. He saw they had a really clear vision. He saw they had energy. He saw they cared for land and people and livestock, etc. And one day he said to them, would you like to buy my place? And they said, well, we'd like to, but we don't have the money to buy your place. And they said, we didn't know it was on the market. He said, well, it is, but I didn't want to tell anybody. But he said, I'd sell it to you. And he said, I'll give you vendor finance. And they said, well, that'll be good too, but, we don't own enough livestock to be able to pay you back. And he said, well, take my herd and pay me back for that in 18 months' time. So what they actually did was went to the bank and the local sort of state government authority, which helps young people get started with loans. They borrowed the money to buy the land and took the vendor finance on the livestock. They had to get guarantor from one of their parents to help borrow that much money. But the other thing they had was they'd been working for about 15 years. So they had saved, and they had a little share portfolio. They had a couple of houses. They'd shown they were prepared to invest and save money. So after about, it would have been 12, 15 years of working, they had 200,000 in equity that they could put towards that step, and some of that went into buying the 45 head. So I think the thing that drove that was the clear vision that they had, that they wanted to get into agriculture. It was a very clear vision. They had a support network around them that could help them make those hard decisions, and also tell them how to go about doing contracts on to buy a property, and how you go about getting finance, and all of that stuff that you've got to learn. And so they've gone now from a net worth of 200,000, and within 4 years they had a net worth of 2.5 million. So, and you might think that they're pretty lucky, but they've gone through years and years of drought. They then had a flood that wiped out a lot of infrastructure. They've had an earthquake. they've had a serious injury within the family, and they've had 3 kids all at the same time. So it can be done, but it takes one of the principles of life, which I think is a governing principle of life, is that focus is your power. And if you want to achieve something, then just focus on it and start and do something, And if they had not bought 45 head of cattle and started without knowing what the end point was going to be, nothing else would have happened. And I tell people every day, well, not quite every day, but very frequently now, that I used to think that the way to achieve goals was to set a goal and then develop the strategies to get there. That is completely wrong. What you do is set the goal, be very, very clear about it, and then get out of the way. And what that does is it sets up your RAS, which is your reticular activating system, which filters in opportunities. And all you need to do is be ready to take those opportunities and then do some work. And you will get to where you wanted to get to, most of the time faster than you would ever have anticipated it was possible. But unless you're on the, unless you're on the journey, unless you've started walking to wherever it is you're wanting to go, even if you don't know if it's the right pathway, just get going and be very clear about the end point. Do not worry about how you're going to achieve it. Worrying about how you're going to achieve it most of the time stops you achieving it. So just have the end point clear and the start point and go.
Terry, this is the best. Thank you for your attention and for watching this video. Click here or somewhere to watch more of our videos. If you're new here, please do subscribe. We want more of your attention. We want to get you inspired to get onto your farm. Let's get you farming.